Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek First Contact. And this movie is the eighth Star Trek movie, and it came out in 1996, directed by Jonathan Frakes, if I pronounced that correctly. And I really enjoyed this movie. What really worked for me about this film is that it was basically the fourth film, but done better, in my opinion. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to disagree with me on that, but this is what I wanted the fourth film to be, where it's a time travel movie, but it felt like there were actual stakes involved, and the villains had great presence to them, and I thought that they were very well established and actually scary at points. There were moments in this film where I felt actual tension while watching the film. There were great practical effects in this movie. And I love the design of the Borg. And this is a film, I think it relies on you having to see Star Trek The Next Generation, the show, which I haven't seen at all. Maybe bits and pieces of it when I was really young, but never an entire episode. But I do feel as though this movie stands on its own pretty well. Like, you don't have to have seen the show to enjoy this movie. That's really where Star Trek works best for me, is when the films feel like actual movies and not just TV episodes that were stretched out over the course of 2 hours, and also films that stand on their own. And that's what this movie does best. The pacing for this movie is great. I never felt as though any time in this film was wasted. The characters in this film are very strong. And I really like Picard's character in this film, and he's very interesting because he's seen all this before, and he has a history with the Borg, and he knows exactly what they're capable of, and that's what makes it interesting to watch. I really enjoyed the action in this movie, which kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting the action to be as entertaining as it was, but it actually worked in this film. And this movie had a really good story to go along with it, and that's also something that helped my experience while watching the film. And I'll say this much about the film. There are scenes in this movie that take place on Earth, and also scenes that take place on the Enterprise. And without spoiling anything, I was more invested in what was going on the USS Enterprise, or whatever version of the Enterprise it is now. That stuff I'm more engaged with, simply because there was more of a hook for me, whereas the stuff on Earth, for the most part, didn't really grab my attention all too much. Just because I had more of an emotional attachment to what was going on the Enterprise. Not just because it's taking place on the Enterprise, but the story, like the meat of the story, is all just within taking place on the Enterprise, is how I felt about it. I liked how this movie was shot as well, and there are points in this movie where it did kind of remind me of A Nightmare on Elm Street at points, because there are moments in this film where it's kind of trying to be a horror movie almost, but doing it in a way that I found to be very successful. Like Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, it did that, and it was successful in that movie, even though that's not really much of the movie. It's only like one scene in that film, but it really worked in that movie, and it works in this movie because of how things are presented, and it never once felt out of place. It just felt like, okay, this is it, the antagonist, this is what we're up against, and it's setting up the stakes without being gratuitous or gory by any stretch of the imagination, and a lot of the horror is kind of left up to the mind, and you need to just like figure these things out in your head as to like what's going on, instead of the movie just like actually showing it like a Saw movie. And it's really effective in that way, I feel. And overall, I just really enjoyed this movie. The characters are very likable in this film, I felt, and the performances are strong. The story works very well. There's a narrative hook right away for me, and overall, it's just what I wanted the previous Star Trek movie to be, and that being Generations. This film has everything that I would want, and I leave the film satisfied. So I would definitely check this movie out again at some point, and I would recommend that you would check this movie out because of everything that I just said. It's a great standalone film. I do have my own issues with it. I'm not fully entertained throughout the entirety of the film, but the parts of this movie that work for me really work. And when I say really work, I mean I love those scenes. So definitely check this movie out whenever you get the chance. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Star Trek First Contact a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below your thought of Star Trek First Contact, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Star Trek Insurrection. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.